All right, gang, I teased you at the top of the show and all week on Twitter and Facebook that we were going to have Don Jamieson of the That Metal Show join us by phone here inside the asylum. And gang, I do not lie, I have delivered with me right now by phone the one and only Don Jamieson.
What's up, Turbo, man? Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it, dude.
Hey, thank you for taking the time out to do this, man. First things first, gotta congratulate you and the guys of That Metal Show on the 10th season. Amazing.
I know, man. We're like porn stars, man. We just keep pumping these things out, and make a couple bucks on the, on the side while we're doing it, and we're having fun, man. It's just been great. So, hopefully we'll do 10 more. We'll see what happens, man. Metalheads are the best, man. They're the most loyal crowd ever, man. They once they find something they like, they stick with it. So that's a good testament to them,
Absolutely. I mean, you can see the audience is always full. It's always packed. People are always going, I want to be in the audience for That Metal Show.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's like, that's why the metal community is so cool. It's like, people just keep, people love watching the show and they watch it over and over. And it's like, I like hoarders, but, after they find the dead cat, it's like, all right, now what,
Well, what I find often when I'm watching it is that sometimes there'll be a good line out of you or Jim or Eddie or one of the guests, and you end up busting up laughing, and you miss what followed it. So you got to watch it again.
Yeah. Exactly. And the three of us are devastatingly handsome, so that's also another reason a lot of people watch.
Oh, yeah, well, everyone's got their Wolverine fetish, so.
Exactly, man. It's so funny doing this show for 10 seasons, and the most feedback I get from people on Twitter or Facebook is about my sideburns. I mean, it's crazy. Like the women seem to actually really like it, but and I think that gets guys angry, and then they get like really aggressive with me, and like they get angry at my facial hair. I've never had that before. Someone actually get angry at my facial hair, but I know what I got. I look like a cross between a Civil War general and a train conductor from the 1900s. I'm sorry, that's just the way I walk around. These things, they grow on their own. I don't even know how they really got this way, but they're here, and look, I know Chaz Bono has better facial hair than me. I understand that.
Some people got it and some people don't. And in your case, hey, you could always tell people, listen, Hugh Jackman stole it from you,
Right, exactly. He's wanted to be like me for years, obviously. He does feature films and Broadway plays, and he hosts award shows. He wishes he was on VH1 Classic digital cable.
Exactly, man.
He could only dream.
That's something he'll never be able to say.
If he's lucky.
So,
dude, I work with here's the bottom line. It's amazing. I work with my two best friends. We sit around and talk about metal and meet our heavy metal idols, and we get paid. So God bless America, man.
Yeah, it's the truth. You guys literally, and I've said this to several people, you guys literally get paid to do what so many of us do in our bedrooms, our living rooms, our basements with friends of ours. How many times... I'm sure, growing up, you and your friends sat around listening to an album and going, oh, doesn't this sound like this one?
Right.
We
do, and we still do that, dude. We're all in our mid-40s, and then, sometimes after the tapings, we'll, if we're friends with the guests or whatever, we'll go out with them later and go maybe, to the Rainbow in L.A. or wherever, and there'll be a throwdown at the Rainbow, during dinner and having drinks. That's what metalheads think this stuff is. It's the things that we debate and talk about are the most important things. But people who don't like hard rock or love hard rock and metal, they watch the show. Like a lot of guys will make their girlfriends sit and watch it, and they'll be like, why are these idiots fighting over which Iron Maiden album is better? Who cares? But we care, that's the point. And it's not just like, it's not just like people like us. It's the musicians, man. Like Tom Morello will text me and Eddie and like be like, dude, how could you pick, how did you miss this in the top 5, or how could you say this in the throwdown? Like, the artists themselves get nuts about it because, at the end of the day, they're fans too.
Oh, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I've always felt, anyone within the industry, whether, it's a DJ or a band or a songwriter, whatever, everyone's a fan first. And then whatever they are in the business second.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, like I said, it's a good community, of people, and 95% of the people that we met are all cool. I mean, probably even more, probably 99% of people, are cool as hell, and look, as long as the network breaks open their piggy bank and finds enough, enough change in there to do a new season, we'll be here to do it, man. It's a total honor to represent the metal community.
I mean, and you guys do such a great job of it. No doubt about that.
Thank you, brother.
You're welcome, man. And I gotta ask, because every time the top 5 comes up, and I sit and watch it, and I like anyone else, there'll be stuff I agree with, I disagree with. I go, what they missed this, or what were they thinking? Has there ever been a top 5 that you guys were handed where you looked at it and went, are you fucking kidding me?
What, like it was like we just completely missed the boat?
Yeah.
Maybe not completely, but there has been ones where I'll say, man, I even said on one, I forget which, there was a top 5 where I even said like, well, here's my list, and I obviously completely misunderstood the category, but I still had to go through my list. But yeah, I mean, I think that was like top 5 hard rock drummers, and for me, it's just like, what, our show is the home of all things hard rock and heavy metal, so I don't care about differentiating what's a hard rock drummer, what's a metal drummer. To me, it's all the type of music we love, because let's face it, I could sit in my house and listen to, Aerosmith one minute and Slipknot the next, and to me, it's just all hard rock and music to me. But yeah, sometimes there's been a few categories where I just completely shit the bed, where I was just like, you know what, I don't even think, because you know what it is, like the producer will send us the list, and then we'll have to do them like overnight and get them back to them. So then like you hit send, and then you're like, oh fuck, how could I not put this in there, damn it, and you get all worked up about it, and then you realize, you know what, it's just a list, really. I mean, there's no right or wrong answers, but it is funny, man. People go crazy on Twitter, man. They'll be like, how could you forget Iron Maiden in the, or Steve Harris from Iron Maiden in the top, 5 bassists or whatever, and then we'll just always write the same thing. He would have been number 6. But because of course it's not that we forget people, but there's only 5 slots, so it's like whoever's not in the top 5. They'd maybe be 6 to 10. I don't know.
Right, and not only that, I would also think some of it has to go about maybe what you're listening to recently, or whatever pops into your head first.
Right, and then the other thing is, I think the first time we ever did it was one of the better times, because I just completely did it on instinct. I didn't try to think what Jim and Eddie would write, and so now it's like a strategy. Like I think, all right, I only have 5 picks. I know Eddie's going to put, Geddy Lee in the best bass player category, because he's a complete Rush maniac, and he's going to put the guy from UFO in his. So I don't need to put them in mine. I'll think, Florentine is going to put this guy in, so I don't need to put him. And then we get out there, and the other guys go completely against the grain, and then we all miss the most obvious guys. I just liked it better, like you said, like just whatever just first comes to mind, that's probably the best list.
Yeah, I mean, that would be the way I would. Yeah, that's one thing I kind of wondered as you guys have gotten into now the 10th season of that metal show. It's kind of like, where are you guys going to go with the top 5? We're almost to a point where, you're going to see top 5 cover band of a 90s one-hit wonder. It's what's next?
Well, first of all, I'm glad that we just worked out that whole that whole thing about doing the top five, because this is like metal therapy for me right now. It's like you got me back on track, and I really appreciate that. Like you're right, Turbo. I need to go with my instincts a little more. I feel like I should be laying on a couch and I should be paying you at the end of this. But no, I don't. Look, the good thing is between the three of us, once every 3 or 4 years, we come up with a new idea. So eventually, when the top five runs its course, we'll come up with something else, to replace it. But the little wrinkle that we added this season is we're having actual artists come on and do the top five with us, on
It's like, with Sky in there, it seemed like I was watching, it's almost like, with Sky in there, it seemed like you guys could have done a half-hour segment discussing that top five, because you could see that Scott is so into it, just like you guys are, in regards to what should have been where and who should have been in and all of that.
Right. Well, that was even a topic where it was kind of like everyone interpreted it a little differently. Like that topic was, best, dual guitar tandem. And the way I thought of it was, not like Angus and Malcolm, a lead and a rhythm. I took it as like dueling guitars, dual leads like Thin Lizzy and Iron Maiden and those, Glenn Tipton and KK Downing from Priest. Because, of course, I mean, there's a million guitar tandems you could have put down, as great tandems. But and you would definitely put Angus and Malcolm up there. But I left them off because, I took that category to be, again, like intertwining lead, guitars, and there's nobody better than that in hard rock and metal than the guys from Thin Lizzy, in my opinion. So, that was another one where we're sort of like, all right, what's the exact criteria for this category? But we worked it out.
Right. I mean, I often see you guys too get into that kind of hairy issue of, well, this one should be higher because they inspired everyone else, but then there's the argument that, well, yeah, but, Thin Lizzy may have inspired Maiden, but maybe Maiden took it to the next level, so they go higher. I mean, the top five, there are times I watch you guys with the top five, and it's like, this is so wrong that they only give you guys, the first 5 minutes of the show, because some of those topics really could go on for way longer. And one thing I always wondered, did they tell you guys when to cut it, or there's something in your, or is there a little voice in the back of your head going, before this gets out of hand, that's it, we're calling it?
No, trust me, none of us have any kind of instincts whatsoever for television, so our producer needs to kind of give us the signal to wrap it up. Because we could go on, like you said, that we could go on for that for a half hour, but, look, our whole show used to be a half hour, the first 4 seasons or 5 seasons or something, or 4 seasons, so, to have the extra time is amazing, but, now that we've had the hour for a long time, now it's almost like, God, if we only had 90 minutes, we could really get more in depth with things. But look, we're grateful. We're still working. God bless, and it's it looks like the show's going to continue on. So
absolutely, I don't see why it wouldn't. Now, funny thing I want to ask is, you brought up hard rock and metal, and I don't know if you get asked this a lot, or Eddie gets asked this a lot, or Jim, but I know people have come to me with it a few times in regards to, where you draw the line. For me, my show here on Bull Spike Radio, The Asylum, I don't know if you've listened before or not, I essentially do everything rock and metal, from the Beatles all the way through to some of the local indie bands from all over the world. That's kind of my take on it. Where, is there like a line in the sand for you between hard rock and metal? Because I know a lot of people get very sensitive about when you call a band that they think is a metal band a rock band, or vice versa. I think Eddie draws the line at 1988, so, because I don't think he likes any bands past then. But as far as,
as far as the general theme of the show, we are in VH1 Classic. So, yes, we do cater to the classic bands. The Beatles are obviously would be pushing it in terms of trying to, fit them in as a hard rock band. But, we've had Paul Rodgers on the show, which, most people would consider, the stuff he's done in his career more classic rock. And Styx is going to be on later in this season, and that people would probably put them in the same boat as well as a classic rock band. But, in keeping with what you said with the top five is like, where do you go from there? It's the same thing with the guests. Is like, we want to broaden it out with the guests as well. So, we're starting to reach out into those areas where, it's sort of, we sort of walk the line between, hard rock and just sort of rock or classic rock. Because, hey, let's face it, man. You know what's classic rock now? Metallica, Motley Crue. Aerosmith is classic rock. Zeppelin's classic rock. So, even some of the metal bands that we love are classic rock bands now. You could put on a classic rock station, hear Iron Maiden now. So, a lot of those bands sort of, cross over. And, we're also trying to incorporate a lot of newer bands on too, Machine Head and Slipknot and Tape Read and stuff like that. So, we're trying to open it up a little bit on both ends.
Yeah, I remember when you guys announced that Marilyn Manson was going to be on last season, and I remember seeing a lot of people on Facebook and Twitter having, like, a shit fit. Like,
yeah.
How do you have Manson on? Manson doesn't fit. And I was sitting here going, what are you guys thinking? Manson, like the people that were arguing, you guys, like, hello, Manson fits. Manson's just the newer stuff.
Right, exactly. Manson's one of those guys. There's a handful of guys in the type of music that we love who, whether you like him or hate him, you're going to watch, man, because Manson is going to say whatever the hell he wants, man. And he came on our show with a bottle of absinthe, and he sat there and got hammered the entire time and made inappropriate, rape and AIDS jokes. And, that's what you get when you book Manson. You get the circus comes to town, and that's totally cool with me, man. That's why I don't want Marilyn Manson to come on in a suit and tie and go, oh yes, my new album is very good. I really had fun doing it, and it was fun. I want the rock star to come on. When Dave Mustaine comes on, I want him to sneer and snarl and be a little nasty. I want Phil Anselmo to come on with his jacked up on testosterone, and curse and yell and that's why you love these guys, and that's why some people hate those guys. But we want those guys on the show. We don't want a watered down version of it. We want, believe me, when Yngwie's been on twice, and I'm still waiting for him to unleash the fury and wreck the set.
Yeah.
That would be great TV. I wouldn't care. You got to put it in the budget. Yngwie might ruin the set. We might need a new set next year.
That would be something else. Dave Mustaine, people expect that edginess to him. I tell you what, I have nothing but love for Dave Mustaine. I'm actually, I guess my story with him would be a little bit of the softer side. I was at Gigantor here in the New York City area earlier this year. He saw me at the edge of the stage. I'm the only nutball in a wheelchair that sits down all the way in the pit by the edge of the stage. And he sees me during, I forget what song they were doing. I think it was from the new album 13. It may have been before they did Public Enemy #1. And he comes out after they dim the lights and they go back, take a break, a quick breather. He comes out, goes around the edge of the stage to kind of, check everybody out, see the scene. He sees me, points over to me, leans down to the security guard, hands him the guitar pick he was using to give to me.
That's cool, man.
I was just like blown away. And my friend with me looked at me afterwards, were like, and people say Dave Mustaine's an asshole?
Well, but the thing is, with this is the true with most artists. and comedians especially, the people with the most bravado and sort of the most attitude are also some of the most sensitive people too. So there's no doubt that Dave has a sensitive side to him. But when he's coming on the show, I want him to, I want to hear dirt, and I want to hear what he has on his mind, because he doesn't hold back. So, and look, I mean, everyone sees a certain image of somebody, but if you get to sort of know somebody, you get to see the other side of them, and that's cool that that you got to experience that. But at the end of the day, look, as long as that guy makes great music, that's all that matters. Megadeth's been doing it a long time, man, and they're still putting out great stuff. So
for sure, I mean, it got questionable for a little bit. We all know about Risk. Mm-hmm. That was a bad album, and World Needs a Hero I thought was a good one. The one couple after that scared me for a while, but then 13 just blew me away. So it's
I think that like the 30th anniversary of Risk is coming up, or the 20th anniversary of Risk is coming up, and I really hope they're not going to go out and tour and play in its entirety.
Oh, I tell you what, would you believe Risk was the first Megadeth album I ever bought?
Wow, that's crazy to think that, but that's because that's interesting where people kind of pick up on bands too. It's funny, and yet even though that wasn't the best introduction to them, it still caught on with you, and and you followed them. Like Eddie didn't get into Trunk, my co-host didn't get into Sabbath until Dio, which seems so weird to me, but that's where he picked up on Sabbath, and me and Jim are total Ozzy guys from way back. So, it's always fun to hear like where people picked up on artists. I mean, there's a million kids who go see Iron Maiden who have no idea the first two albums are with Paul Di'Anno. They don't even know about, the Killers and Iron Maiden, the first two albums. And to me, those are still the best Iron Maiden albums, that they have.
I have both of us. I have most of Maiden's collection. I make it a point to see them whenever they're in the area. I've listened to the Di'Anno stuff. I've listened to the Dickinson stuff. I haven't gotten to the Blaze Bailey era yet. But to me, and we'll probably go on to a topic on this alone for God knows how long. But to me, it seems like Di'Anno was what they needed to get started, but Dickinson was the sound that they needed to get to where they are. Like Dickinson was that breaking point to get them through the
Agreed, absolutely. As much as I loved Di'Anno and the band and the style they were doing back then, yes, they would not have gotten to this point, had he stayed in the band. It just wouldn't have happened. So, I like to look. I love, at least the first 5 Dickinson albums are just absolute classics. Not a dull moment on any of those records. But look, I'm probably 20 years older than you, so for me, I always kind of lean back to those early albums, as favorites.
Well, I don't want to ask you. I don't want to age you on air, but I'm 32, so I don't know how much of a difference there is between us in age.
No, that's a good thing about doing this show. You don't have to look pretty, and you don't have to be a certain age, because if you're a metalhead, you're a metalhead, whether you're 15 or 11 or 70. I mean, no one's. That's why we got in this box of junk. We got a little eye candy for people. Because just looking at the three of us for an hour can probably sometimes get annoying. So I'm 45, man. I wear it proudly. I mean, it's hard to tell because they put shoe polish in my sideburns, but I got some grays.
Hey, listen, sooner or later they all catch up to us. I mean, I'm 32 and I'm already seeing them pop through, or I'm feeling the bald spot starting to pop through the back of my head. So I know where you're coming from.
Yeah, but you know what? Look, it's and that's the thing too. Is like when I was younger, I had the long hair and I did the whole thing, and now it's like I'm just happy to still have hair. At 45, I'm like, there's no bad hair days when you're 45 and you still have hair. That's just like you're just happy it's there, and Hopefully I have good hair genes in my family. But that's the thing too with metalheads is like people see Eddie Trunk and they're like, he doesn't look like a metalhead. Well, it's what's in your heart.
Right, but here's the thing: what is a metalhead supposed to look like? That's the question. Everyone goes, well, Eddie can't be a metalhead. He doesn't have long hair and he doesn't have tattoos. Yeah, what's your point?
Right. None of us do. None of us have a piercing, a tattoo, long hair. I mean, you'll always see, if you go to a metal show, especially like on a Friday night, you'll always see like a group of guys in like khakis and blue button-up shirts at the shows because they just came from their corporate jobs and had to go right to the concert. But they're metalheads too, They just have to, they had to cut their hair and get into the working world, but that doesn't mean they don't love the music.
Exactly. I mean, shit. I would be that way if I had a 9-to-5 job. Trust me, the hair would be cut, the tattoos would be covered up with whatever makeup I would need to cover them up with. I'm lucky right now. I'm not in the 9-to-5 world, so I could still, be me fully without having to hide it to go into the 9-to-5 world.
Yeah, exactly. So it's if you have a love for the music, that's all that matters, man. And you jump in the pit and have a good time. It doesn't matter. That's the thing is that keeps this music alive is people just keep supporting it. I mean, that's why hip hop stayed around so long. As much as I dislike hip hop, those audiences stick to their artists, man. They really do. They go to the shows, they buy their the CDs and stuff, and you got to remind metalheads, hey, you keep asking, we do a segment on the show, whatever happened to what, and there's always somebody to put in there, and so people want to know whatever happened to, and say, well, they're around, they want to play, but you guys don't go out and see them, so it's you can't expect a band to go out on tour, and nobody shows up. I mean, there's definitely an economic component to being a band. I mean, you have to make money if you go on the road. So, I always tell people, support the bands that you like if you can. I know times are tough, but, if you can get out there and do it, and even if you could help like what you're doing, man, if there's any way you could help create a buzz, if you can't get out and do it that way, if there's any way you could help create a buzz about a band that you love, do it, help support them that way. I try to throw out bands I love on Twitter so people can, check them out. If there's something that doesn't really fit in the body of the show, I always try to let people know, hey, check out this band. I really dig on them.
Yeah, I mean, and that's really one of the things that I'm always telling people about the scene when they question me. It's like, well, why are you into that scene and that music? And I just tell them, go to a show and check it out. Even if it's a local show, you'll see people of all different walks of life, all different ages. And one of the things I've always told people, go to any major rock or metal show, whether it's Kiss, Maiden, Metallica, even a smaller one, when Rat's touring, they're not doing the big arenas, but they're still doing great shows when they're not fighting. And you'll see people of various ages, and that's one thing I think that also helps the rock and metal scene versus like pop and even hip hop is that there's no age limit.
Mm-hmm.
When an artist gets older, it's not like the fans get older and the new wave latches on to the new artist. Everyone kind of all gravitates to all the various artists. So there's really no age limit.
Yeah, and also the thing you'll see at a lot of metal shows and hard rock shows is guys my age, or a little older with their kids at the show. They're 10-year-old or they're 11-year-old, and they're bringing them up on the music they love because they want to pass it, on. Like if I'm ever like Florentine and I forget to use a condom and I have a kid accidentally, I'll raise that kid to be a little metalhead like he's doing.
Right. I mean, that's really ideal. And the main thing is everyone connects. I mean, I'll be honest with you. My dad went with me to see Alice Cooper back in December. If you would have told me 5 years ago, my father would be going with me to an Alice Cooper show. My dad listens to Kenny Rogers and Rod Stewart, and that's the stuff he listened to and still does. If you would have said to me he was going to go with me to an Alice Cooper show and actually have a good time, I would have said, what drugs are you on? But,
What drugs were you on?
nothing, man. All I had that night was a Jack and Coke. That was
Right.
it, man. Unless somebody slipped something in it. But
What? You're not a big Kenny Rogers fan? You don't like
No.
Coward of the County or Lucille or the Gambler or?
you know what? Give me the Gambler, and that's about it, man.
Okay. It's
Yeah.
just that I know all those songs and Islands in the Stream is probably scary.
Yeah, I tell you what, I probably know them if I heard them.
Yeah,
you know, that's how it goes with some. That's how I am with music. You play it for me, I'll go, yeah, I know it. Ask me to name the song, bring up a certain lyric and go, well, what song is it? I have no clue. I look at you and I go, you know what? Go ask that to Eddie Trunk. He knows all that stuff.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like we like Eddie knows. I mean, his knowledge is crazy because it has such a broad scope. Like Florentine and I have our own personal little crazy things that we know. Like Florentine knows, he knows like the song lengths, which is crazy. Like you could name a song, and if it's by a band that he loves, you go Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, 13 minutes 22 seconds. Like for some reason he memorized, over the years he memorized like the lengths of songs.
That's like some Rain Man shit going on right there.
I know, believe me. He's exactly. And I don't know how he does it, but he remembers all the song lengths. And then I'm great. My thing is lyrics, like I can remember lyrics instantly. If I hear a song once or twice, I can have all the lyrics down and be able to recite them back to you. So, we all have our goofy little, niches with that. But yeah, definitely. I mean, Trunk is just an overall metal guru, and I don't know. He has that little spot in his brain that it's just reserved for mindless trivia. So, and thank God, because it got us a TV show.
Oh, you ain't kidding. I tell you, there are times he comes out with stuff and I just sit there and go, where did you pull that out of?
I know, the guy sends me texts, there's like 9 spelling errors, but yet, he could tell you who produced the first Bang Tango demo. It's like, your brain works in a completely different way than most people, and again, I appreciate that because we found a place to put it.
Right. I mean, Eddie openly admitted Twitter was something he was kind of new to and wasn't familiar with, but there was a subject trunk where someone said name like the first, I think it was like 13 studio albums from Black Sabbath in a row, and it was like, and he did it, and I sat there, or it was Rush, or whoever it was, and I'm like, you can't figure out Twitter, but that you pulled out.
Yeah, right, and it's funny, I love when he does those, when he has to, I think he did like 20 UFO albums, and I love when he does those lists. Because he also gets crazy cautious because we're always like, he always thinks there's a trick, there's a trick to the question, because he's do compilations count? Do EPs count? Do live albums count? Like he gets nuts about it because sometimes we get him on a technicality and it really makes him crazy. I didn't even realize it. I mean, it took about 4 seasons before I realized he really cares if he gets these questions.
Yeah, no, I mean, you could see the ones that bother him, you could see bother him. I mean, I know the one that was on this past weekend with the guys of TNN. I want to make sure I say that right.
Yeah, Tooth and Nail.
Tooth and Nail, there you go. I remember he got a hard time because it was Master of the Moon.
Right.
Was the album, but he called it Man in the Moon.
Right,
and
yeah.
It's like, I got half. It's like...
Yeah. but he's not. He wants, he literally wants that half credit. I mean, he's not. It's not a put on, and of course, being the supreme assholes that me and Florentine are, the minute we see him struggling, we just start, attacking and going in for the kill and, instigating him and needling him mercilessly. So,
yeah, but that's what friends are for, man. I mean,
well, yeah. Look. If people are always like, "Man, you're rough on Eddie." I'm like, you should see us off camera. It's 100 times more brutal because we scream and curse at each other. I mean, if you counted how many times a day when we're out in LA filming this show that he looks at Florentine and says, "Why is Jamieson such a dick?" You would be like, how are these guys even friends? But it's, whose balls do you break? Your friends. I mean, I'm not going to break someone's balls I don't know. My best friends. That's who we break balls with.
Exactly. I mean, that's the ones that love you the most are the ones that take it the best.
Right, exactly. But the good thing about Eddie is he is so reactive that even when he tries not to react, he reacts. Like his non-reaction is even a reaction because you could tell he gets beat red and you could tell he's holding something back. So then you just got to know how to needle him just enough to make him blow.
Nice. I love it.
But we love it. Look, I love it. We love each other. There's there's never any animosity with us. The three of us know that what we're doing is just crazy, and we'll never have a better job than this. Unless it's giving out free mammograms somewhere. But that's probably about it. Other than that, this is probably the greatest job we'll ever have.
Hey, if you get that job, man, call me up for that one. I'll help. Shit.
Absolutely, and the only lump we'll find is in our pants.
Exactly, man. Listen, I'm looking at the clock and I'm realizing we're really going here. I don't want to take up too much more of your time. We could go on and on about everything rock and metal and that metal show. And
well, we'll save some for another time. We'll get we got the basics down now. Like when we interviewed Axl, for the TV show. There's a lot of feedback about that, and I don't know if you saw it, but what I say? I say, what? It was great. As a part of musical history to sit down and talk with the guy who hadn't talked to anybody on TV for 20 years. And I think it's a great part one. So this is our part one, and then we'll dig a little deeper next time. We'll get more specifically into some bands, and we'll keep doing this down the line, man.
Definitely, man. Absolutely.
Plus, they just found another dead cat on Hoarders, so I really should get going.
Oh, yeah. Let me guess, you have a dead cat collection. But before I let you go, first, I want to, people sometimes maybe forget that your other job is comedy and you're a comedian. And do you got any gigs coming up that people should know about? Make sure they come out and see you.
Well, I think the biggest gig that I could plug right now would be I'm going to be performing at Metallica's Orion Fest.
Nice.
Yeah, which will be exciting. They're going to have a comedy stage, and it's going to be me and Jim Brewer and Jim Florentine, and we're just going to do our comedy and metal sets, and hopefully not have too many bottles flung at us.
Yeah, I mean that's awesome to hear. I mean, I heard about Orion. I was all psyched up because I'm in Brooklyn. Atlantic City is, it's a 3-hour drive, but it isn't horrendous. And then I started doing the math on the ticket to the festival and the room and everything, and I went, yeah, it's a nice idea. Yeah, and then I saw some of the lineup, and I kind of even began to question the lineup of bands.
Yeah, it's a real mix. So it's for some people it's a stretch, but the cool thing, besides obviously me and Florentine being there, is Metallica. On the Friday night is playing all of Ride the Lightning. On Saturday they're going to play all of the Black Album. So I think those are going to be good treats. for the fans. When Jim and I will be there on the Saturday night doing our comedy. So, I think those will be great shows to hear him play those two albums in their entirety. As long as they don't add a third night and play Lulu in its entirety, it'll be a good show.
Don't get me started on Lulu.
Let's not waste our time on that.
Let me tell you, between Lulu and Hall of Fame, Eddie and I could do 3-4 hours just on those.
Exactly.
But awesome, mate. I'm glad to hear you guys are on Lion, and that's just, you know what? If you're not thrilled with the lineup, people, go down, get your tickets for Lion, go see Don Jamieson, Jim Florentine, all the guys on the comedy stage. Forget the bands you don't like. Go see the guys at the comedy stage, and then go see Metallica after that.
Right, exactly. You drink beer, have fun.
Definitely, man. And remember, again, if you don't have it already, Don Jamieson, live and hilarious. Great album. I love it. Was cracking up listening to it the other day.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, my first live comedy album that I taped in New Jersey, and it's available on iTunes, and you can get it from the Metal Blade site because I'm on Metal Blade Records, or if you have a local record store by you, it's probably in the 99-cent bin. So pick it up wherever you can.
Yeah, local record stores. those are a dying art.
Yeah, they are, brother.
All right, man. Let me let you boogie on out of here. Before I let you go, first, let me get a request from you. I'll play right after this. Something I like to do. I always like to get a request from everyone that spends time with us here inside the Asylum.
All right. Oh, you want me to request a song?
Yeah, man. Give me a song, man.
We talked some Metallica, but we talked some Maiden too. So, yeah, I wouldn't mind hearing a little Maiden. How would that be?
Anything particular, Diano or Dickinson?
You know what? Let's go for a little Bruce. How about some Where Eagles Dare?
Where Eagles Dare. Let me double check my library. I forget. Now I got to remember what album that was on.
It's the first track on Peace of Mind.
Look, and you say Eddie Trunk has got all the knowledge. Good. Look at that. You just spit that one out. And I think I recently got my hands on Peace of Mind, which is perfect. Beautiful, man. Beautiful, man. I get that. We're going to go into that. Before I let you go, we have a promo from you from a while back. I want to get another one from you, a new one, a fresh one. So when you're ready, just the usual, who you are. If you want to throw in that metal show, feel free to. But say who you are, where you're with, the name of the station, Both Spike Radio, and have some fun with it.
All right. You got it. All right. 3, 2. Hey, everyone, it's Don Jamieson from That Metal Show. When you're not checking out our show, please do yourself a favor. Check out my man Turbo on Bull Spike Radio, the heaviest, girthiest show on radio. Crank it.
Awesome, brother. Thank you so much for your time. And here's your request, man, right now from Iron Maiden's Peace of Mind, Where Eagles Dare.